Hello everybody and welcome back to round 18 of TTL here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. My name is Kieran McGinley and I'll be taking you through this round of the championship.
Now, if you haven't seen the last race, hopefully somewhere there'll be an eye taking you back to the previous race. Please watch it. It was a hectic race and I almost lost my voice because of it. Nevertheless, it should come as a huge surprise that the current championship leader, Crazy Legs, did not score any points in the last race. And there's been a bit of time to mull this over now, whether you click that eye or not. Crazy Legs crashed out on the first lap of the last Grand Prix, means he didn't score any points. He's still at the top of the table with 237, Spike's in second on 186, Traw in third on 178, and then you have Raikkonen on 147, Darren Sinclair on 143 after his fantastic win, Mays on 120 in 6th place, Frank Denk on 119, only a point behind, in 7th place, Steph in the Mercedes on 89, in 9th is Coyle on 86, and 10th the Gort on 75. On to the next page, we've got Alex BD in 11th on 36, CG in 12th on 34, Paisl's in 13th on 31, Plaster in 14th on 29, Alan Kay in 15th on 25, Geordie in 16th on 24, Sharky in 17th also on 24, Himkar on 19 in 18th, Sean in 19th on 13, George R in 20th on 11. And finally, Nino R on 8 points in 21st, Tractorman in 22nd on 7, Weed Nation on 23rd on 4 points, and Koppel and Toucheo both on 0 points. As we head over to the constructors now, Sauber on top on 356, Force India on 255 in second, Renault on 229 in third place, Toro Rosso on 204 in fourth, in fifth is Mercedes on 190, in sixth Red Bull on 176, in seventh Williams with 106, 8th place McLaren on 84, 9th place Ferrari 53, and at the bottom there 10th place Haas on 43. Now we've all been trying to work out the numbers and everything like that. With 75 points still available across all the races, it means Spike and Traw do have a mathematical chance. However, if Crazy finishes ahead of Spike and Traw in this race, he will become champion. I believe that's everything added up. So if I work it out quickly, and then that makes Traw 59 points behind. So yes, the top three still with a mathematical chance, but if Crazy Legs finishes ahead of Spike, the championship is over. So basically, Spike has to finish ahead of Crazy on all circumstances. That will lead on to the next race. However, Crazy really only needs to get 50 points or above. So if the current standings finish the way they are on 51 points, basically Crazy is champion. Hopefully I'll try and keep up with it, and obviously it won't be confirmed today because of stewards' inquiries and everything. So by the next time you see the next race, we should have the finalised driver standings and constructor standings if it's decided today. We're now going to move on to the hot lap.
So as we round the final two corners with Mays here as he tries to get the traction right, make sure you make that exit as wide as possible to get yourself the most amount of speed down this long straight. You're looking at speeds of up to 320 kilometers an hour as you're heading down this long straight. Keep that steering as straight as possible and make sure you keep away from all of the grass. It's contributing factors to getting grass on your tyres. Brake before the 100-meter board and make sure you smooth the steering through 1, 2 and 3. Make sure you're careful on 3 not to cut the corner too much. You can get time there, but you can also lose your entire lap. Onto the second DRS straight now, heading towards turn 4. Again, brake at the 100-meter board. Make sure you do braking in a straight line. Very easy to lock up going through here. The exit of turn 5 is not as important as the exit of turn 6 coming up here. Get that traction absolutely right because it's going to mean so much coming out of here. Now coming up towards turn 7, it's misleading. You do need to brake, drop a gear or two, and make sure you're as smooth with the steering as possible going through turn 7. Now through 8 and 9. Very very easy to run wide at turn 10 as well, through 11, and you can actually invalidate your lap time by running too wide. Brake just between the about 75 metres before turn 12 as you head through the stadium section now into turn 13. Very easy to lock up here as well. Through turn 14 and a slight kink of 15, make sure you're braking here, up to third gear, and make sure you take turn 16 very nice and smooth. Make sure you're good to get exit, and that is a lap of Mexico.
Well, here we are at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the Mexican Grand Prix. Now, there's 15 drivers in this session, and none of them have qualifying bans, so hopefully we're going to see plenty of drivers battling out for that pole position. The missing driver today is Traw. He's not here today, which is a huge shame, because if the championship could be decided today, Traw pretty much has no say in it whatsoever. But we have Crazy and we have Spike in the race today, so that's going to be a huge championship battle. So basically, the gap at the top is 51 points. All Spike has to do then is finish ahead of Crazy, and I say that's all he needs to do. I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that on the on my little notepad here, and I'll try and keep you up to date wherever I can. So we had a Red Bull leaving the pit lane first, and I believe that was Plaster. There he is. Now, of course, Mexico, you have two long DRS straights as we went through on the hot lap, and a series of twists and turns, so you really need a balanced car here. It's very tempting to try and go low drag throughout the first and second straights, because the first sector is pretty much all straight. However, then you come into the second and third sector, and you've got the twisting section here, as Blaster's experiencing right now. You've got this twisting section which really hurts you if you're running low drag, so it's something to bear in mind as Plaster makes his way through and onto a flying lap. As I said before, no qualifying bans, so we've got Crazy here, got a grid place penalty with a collision with Koppel, so well, that's crazy as a mountain to climb before qualifying's really even started, and they get in a tussle again here. And well, I'm not quite sure that's the smartest thing to do, as we can see there that Crazy actually does have front wing damage, so he's heading back to the pit lane now, and well, that's going to be time out of his session just to fix that front wing. So well, how about this? Crazy could wrap up the championship today if he keeps the gap above 50 points to Spike, but as you can see, he's already got a setback. So as we ride on board now, we'll carry on with Plaster here, as we'll get some telemetry up, get some lap data up as well, as we follow Plaster around now. And yeah, it should be an interesting race, this one. Obviously championship could be decided here, so that's always something to bear in mind and keep in mind as well. So, well, it's not over till it's over, that's all we can say. And got the track map up now, so I pretty much know where they are now, coming into 13, 14, and then the slight kink of 15 into this stadium section now, as Plaster makes his way around now. Around the final corner, what's the lap time he's going to set now, as Plaster rounds that final corner. Across the line, he goes 1:18.4. As we have Spike here, second place in the championship. Weed Nation goes top on a 1:17.4. We've got Z3 here, new to the championship. We also have Twist here in the Haas. We also have a Little Piece as well, who I'm not sure what car he's in, because he got assigned one just today. But let's have a look and see if we can ride on board with Spike here, who's on the super soft tyre. He runs slightly wide, and that could invalidate the lap time as easy as that. We'll see what Spike's going to do now, as Crazy's on another outlap, so the team have worked really hard there and really quickly to get him back out there. Spike crosses the line, and it's a 1:30.8, so obviously not representative, as we've got the Gort now setting a 1:16.2, blows all the other waters out of lap time. Yep, that works. In fact, we'll just stick with that compared to what I was supposed to say. That's fine. We have then Paisl's there in the Ferrari. We've also got Steph on a lap here, running wide. And again, it's just as easy to invalidate your lap time doing that. And, well, we've got Steph now coming through this stadium section now. Fills with confetti, and the checkered flag falls. And Steph making his way around the last corner as he'll push his way onto the start-finish straight now. He sets a 1:17.5 on the super soft tyres, so that's a decent lap time. We have Twist there on a 1:17.4. Heemkarl sets a 1:17.5, pretty much the same as Steph there. Plaster's on a 1:18. We'll have a look at Z3 as he's making his way through the stadium section. Yellow flags in sector 1 as Crazy now trying to push his way through. We've got Raikkonen here as well on a lap time. Who's going to set a lap time first? It's going to be Z3 first, but he decides to jump into the pit lane and knock the bollard all through with him. Raikkonen around the corner once again. Does not set a lap time. In fact, he was on an outlap, so never mind then. We're right on board with Crazy then, championship leader, and needs a good result today. All he has to do is finish ahead of Spike, who's put third place there on the super soft tyres. So it is a good lap time from Spike as all Crazy runs wide, very wide there. Keeps it under control. Fantastic to keep it like that. But has his lap time been affected? Will he head back to the pit lane now as he rounds through the stadium section? All important now as he rounds the final corner. He can call this a banker lap if he wants to, but he'll head straight into the pit lane here. So not ideal for Crazy right now. He's in P12 and Spike there on the super soft tyre in third place as he's taken an interesting line around that track, but he's just trying to get out of the way of all of the drivers on flying laps, especially through this twisting section. You really don't want to be on the racing line in the way of someone. As we ride on board with Alan Kay going through the first chicane, second set of chicanes, I believe that is. No, it is the first set. We've got Little Piece as well in the Force India, making his way around and on a flying lap right now. We'll see what sort of lap times he'll set today. As a Twist here, I believe, is heading back to the pit lane, as is Spike. So we'll have the second round coming up very shortly as we've got Raikkonen there, a 1:16.9. We missed that lap time, but Raikkonen there flying. Is he going for another lap? I believe he is. He's got the DRS wide open, so it looks like he's going to go for another one. Let's have a look at the telemetry here. Yeah, he's on max, so he's going to go again. He's just got to be careful if he's going to do that. Maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe he knows it might rain tomorrow. I say tomorrow in the race. That's why he's putting fast lap times on the ultra soft as we head through this twisting section of 7, 8, 9, 10 and then through 11 as well as we head down towards turn 12 as we see Raikkonen there who's 0.03 of a second off, so he might call this one a time. So as Raikkonen then goes around the final corner of turn 16 and then the kink of 17 on the right hand side, he bails out of the lap and heads back to the pit lane. As we've got Little Piece there up into 8th place. Let's have a look at Hazel's here as he's going through the second chicane section of turns 4 and 5 as we head around towards the hairpin of turn 6 there. Very difficult to get that corner absolutely spot on. We'll have a look at Plaster here who's on his outlap, and you'll see here people trying to get a clear bit of track. Weed Nation in the pit lane, but Steph's on an outlap now. He's in 6th place at the moment, and he'll be hoping to try and get himself up there and help Mercedes put the charge back. Didn't have the greatest race in America, but he's hoping to try and bounce back today. He is ahead of his teammate, I believe. His teammate being Maze, sorry. I just my brain just didn't want to pump out the words. But we've got Little Piece there up into 4th place. We have Spike on an outlap. We've got Crazy still in the pits, so Crazy's waiting as late as possible to do that. Spike here is on ultra soft tyres, so he set his best on the super soft tyres. Now he's going for the ultra soft tyres as he runs wide there, and I think Steph is doing exactly the same thing. So we will see now. Put it on the best lap. You can see Spike's just trying to get some clear air and make sure he's not going to get in the way of anybody. Steph now rounding the final corner as he goes onto a flying lap. Meanwhile, the Gort there runs a little bit too much oversteer, coming out of turn 5, I believe that is, and loses the back end. That's a lap aborted as the Gort retires from the session. He knows he might not be able to improve. Spike then coming across the line, and it's interesting then because Spike is going for another outlap, so we'll have to bear that in mind. Crazy then on his outlap as he locks up slightly. He's just come out of the pit lane there through turns 1, 2 and 3 as we head down towards the DRS straight here, the second one, as we head up to turns 4 and 5 and then the hairpin of turn 6. Heem Carl has retired from the session as he calls it a day. Spike there on another outlap. Meanwhile, Steph's on a flying lap. We'll have a see Mays here, 1:16.6, as Raikkonen here rounds the final corner for his outlap. Twist here is on a flying lap, I do believe. Now he is anyway. Steph going through here now. Should be the next one to set a lap time. So the Gort here on pole at the moment as Steph rounds the final corner. Or I should say the penultimate corner. They count that one as a corner. But Steph comes towards the line. It's a 1:21.8, but he's going to go again. So Crazy then comes around the final corner. Has he finally got the pace now? Well, no, he hasn't. Sorry, excuse me, that's an outlap. I'm getting too ahead of myself here. We'll have a see then. Spike here coming on to an outlap, I believe. Yes, that's an outlap. So Steph is hopefully someone's going to be on a lap as Z3 retires without setting a lap time. As we see there, that's probably why you don't retire whilst you're on the track. That distracted the Toro Rosso behind him. Meanwhile, we're going to see Raikkonen here come through the stadium section. Where are the championship leaders? There's Spike. Crazy's on his lap now. So let's have a look at Raikkonen, 4th in the championship standings, comes into the pit lane. So we have Spike then on a flying lap. Let's have a look and see where Crazy is. He's further ahead, so we're going to stay on board. It's literally the two championship leaders now are the only ones to complete their lap. So Crazy's coming through the stadium section now into turns 13, then 14. Keep the traction cool as you go through 15 and then through 16. But what's it going to be here? Can Crazy get himself pole position and prime time for the race? Yes, he can. 1:15.9. Fantastic lap. As now Spike has to react now. He is 5/10 up on his time, but that's not quick enough. That's a high 1:16. So he's got to do better than that. As he rounds the 2 final corners, he'll head towards the line now. This is crucial. Can he get a lap time in? It's 1:16.1. It's not good enough, but it is second place for the race. Well, the 2 championship leaders, Spike his second, but Crazy Legs takes pole and takes the prime position to secure his championship in this race. Fantastic qualifying between the 2 of them, and it just came down to that. And we'll have a look at the lap data. Sorry, the leader. There we go. 1.176 seconds separates the 2 championship leaders, but Crazy Legs secures pole position. Well, it's exactly what Crazy wanted in the end, but of course he does have his 5th-place grid penalty, as does Raikkonen. So Spike is actually on pole. That means Crazy is in 6th place, and that means Raikkonen starts down in P10. Some other ones, the Gort there in 3rd, Mays in 4th. That moves up Weird Nation to, I believe, well, all the results will be sorted out in just a second. We'll have the proper grid coming up after this edit, as well as the race coming up after this edit. Going back to the first championship race in Mexico in 1963. A lot's changed since that race. a few more chicanes and a few more stadium sections, as well as the last corner having the stadium section rather than going around the long sort of dirt track like oval. But of course, as times change, the cars change, and we have a chance for the championship to be decided in front of the huge crowds here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. We're going to go on for the formation laps now, and let's have a look at some of the drivers we need to be watching for this one. So, of course, Spike, all the pressure's on his shoulders as Crazy has the advantage here. So Spike is, of course, the man to watch. We have the Gort here in second. Maze is in third place, so this is where we're going for the actual grid. We've got Weed Nation in fourth. Little Piece is in fifth there. Crazy, the championship leader, in sixth place. Twist and Steph, well, they've been naughty boys. They've been demoted back to the grid, and that's crucial because they won't have the warm brakes and warm tyres that everybody else has. Heemkarts is there in 9th place. Raikkonen drops to 10th. Alan Kay is in 11th place. Plaster in 12th. Koppel there in 13th. Pazels is in 14th. Z3 is in 15th. And Beastie did not do qualifying, but he will start at the back of the grid in 16th place. So as I try and get my details up, let's have a look at Pazels there starting on the soft tyre. Steph starting on the super soft. Everyone else, though, is starting on the ultra soft tyres. So as Spike goes through now, back to the grid, we're all really excited here to for this one. I will try and keep up to date with the points as best as I can. No guarantee though, because things still need to be decided by the next race, of course. But Spike now heading back towards the grid now, who goes through those cars as as everybody starts to form up onto the grid for round 18 of the championship. Of course, the drivers could be decided here. Crazy has to finish ahead of Spike to crown himself champion with 2 races to go. Of course, though, between him and a championship is 36 laps of the Mexican Grand Prix. We're just about ready to go here. As we have 5 red lights here. It's lights out and away we go. What's the start like for everybody else? Here comes Spike, but the Gort here start. They're going to be side by side going through turn 1. Let's have a look behind them. Everybody's behaving themselves so far. Spike trying to edge out the Force India of the Gort, but then look at this. They're going to try and go 4 wide going through turn 1 here. Spike tries to go through, but he's tagged by the Force India and goes straight back over. Spike has been caught out by the Force India. My goodness, what a first lap we needed here. That is not what Spike needed here at all. But has he got damage? Let's hope not, because that's going to be crucial to the Drivers' Championship. Meanwhile then, that means Weed Nation takes the lead of the race. That was Spike and the Gort there, caught up in turn 1. We've got Maze in 2nd place, Steps in 3rd, Crazy up to 4th place here. As we've got Little Piece in 5th, we've got Himkarl in 6th, Twist is in 7th, we've got Raikkonen in 8th place, Beastie has made his way up to 9th place, fantastic start for him. There's Plaster in 10th, Pazels 11th, Koppel is in 12th, Z3 is in 13th, Spike there trying to fight his way back through the field. He's just doing that right now as he's tagged by the Ferrari, who lost the back end as the Ferrari goes for a spin now. But Spike needs to fight now to try and get up. Koppel goes too deep there and loses his front wing. That's another position for Spike. So he's just got to keep that momentum up. Meanwhile at the front then, Weed Nation leads. Maze is in 2nd, Steph in 3rd, Crazy 4th as Little Piece moves up to 5th. Himkarl in 6th, Twist is in 7th, Beastie is up into 8th, and we've got Raikkonen into the pits here. And let's assume that's for damage. It is for damage as Koppel there gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Meanwhile then, Steph's trying to go down the inside of his Mercedes teammate, but does he lose the back end? Yes, very, very slightly. And well, they'll be hoping here. Oh, that's a loss of the back end there. That panicked Crazy for a split second there. But you can see now they're side by side as they go towards turn 4 here. As Crazy goes down the inside. This for 3rd place. And can he hold his own? Can Steph try and hold him off? He can't, but he will have the inside line for turn 6 here. Trying to get that absolutely spot on. But it looks like Crazy's got the position. Has he? Yes, he has. He moves over and takes the position. He does run slightly wide, though, as we've got Little piece there, runs off the track, and he's just got to be careful now because there's going to be debris on his tyres. So he's just got to be careful through here as he loses the back end once again. Opens him up to Twist here, who could fancy him a position. This could move him up into 5th place. Meanwhile, further back, we've got Pazels there in 10th place on the soft tyres as he's trying to find a way past Plaster here, as Spike behind him is really motivated to try and get through here. As May sets the fastest lap, it's still Weed Nation who leads, as Steph here trying to find a way past Crazy Legs. We're on to lap 3. DRS will not be enabled this lap, so we won't see... Sorry, it won't be active this lap because they're already past the activation zone. But as we see there, that is Twist here trying to go down the inside of the Force India of Little Beast. They do make contact, but Twist backs out of it and will try again. But here's... Oh, he's lost it. Twist has lost it. Just as I go off board with him, he's lost the back end and lost a huge chunk of front wing. Meanwhile then, Maze is trying to find a way past Weed Nation as Twist has retired from the session. As Maze here is going to try and find a way past. Crazy Legs lurking in the distance. He'll fancy his chances here to try and get past the both of them. As Twist has left the session. So that's going to be a qualifying ban for his next session. As we see Maze there run down the inside and use the track limits there. That means he's got to yield the position to Crazy. Meanwhile though, Steph could try and move down the inside. The Mercedes teammates are going to try and battle it out. Crazy's up into second, but now Maze has to try and hold off Steph here as they head through the stadium section, and Steph gets past Maze. That's a mistake that could cost him dearly, but Steph moves ahead of Maze, and through all that, Crazy Legs here has moved himself up into 2nd place, now in the slipstream of Weed Nation here, and this is exactly what he needed as Spike is up to 8th place. As now Crazy goes down the inside here, locks up, but takes the position away from Weed Nation, and Crazy Legs takes the lead of the race. Meanwhile then, Spike is on a charge. He needs to be on a charge as he's in 8th place right now. He lies 2.1 behind Plaster, but he'll need to try and make his way up the field. Meanwhile, Weed Nation here is not going to have it. He's still on the back of Crazy Legs here, and he's not going to give up that position just too easily. Meanwhile, Maze is behind Steph. Steph's slightly losing the back end as Himkar here loses it. He's lost it coming out of turn 5, going into turn 6. I'm not sure if there was contact, but he seems to have kept it out of the wall. So it's just, oh, he's lost the back end again there. Yeah, he's taken an excursion off track. That's what's happened. Meanwhile then, we're going to try and ride on board with Steph, who's going to try and move down the inside of Weed Nation, and he's lost the back end. Can he keep it out the wall? Yes, just about, as Weed Nation there drops the field as well. I'm not sure if there was contact there, but Weed Nation, has he taken damage? As we see Steph give the position back to Weed Nation here, but I think Weed Nation is heading into the pits, and he is. Into the pits he goes, and Steph there, well, he knows he might have been to blame for that one. That's why he let Weed Nation through, but Weed Nation's hit the wall and has lost his front wing, and now he's got to come into the pits. Meanwhile then, Plaster could have a go at Steph, who is well, he's reeling a little bit from that incident. You will be full of adrenaline when you when something like that happens to you. You're just trying to push ahead and try and forget about it, and that's you prone to mistakes after that. We're going to try and stay on board then with Plaster, as he's the closest battle now, as he's trying to close in on Steph. Steph locks up coming into turns 4 and 5. And now we've got the hairpin of turn 6. You've got to get this exit absolutely spot on here, as Plaster tries to do that. He is on the softer tyre, so he can try and find a way past. Meanwhile then, Beastie is 6/10 behind Weed Nation, who's come out of the pits in 11th place. But we've got Beastie Kids there. Well, that's a really odd thing to do there. Maybe his controller turned off for a split second, but he just seemed to run off the track, and is now down into 13. Meanwhile then, Steph is, well, he's rattled, that's for sure. He's running wide, and this is not what he needed. He needs to compose himself and carry on with the rest of the race. Meanwhile then, the Gort right behind Weed Nation, trying to close the gap. So we're just trying to keep on board and see who's worth going on board with, who's got the closest gap to the car ahead. At the moment, it's Plaster. So we're going to try and stay on board, as Spike there moves himself up into 6th place after all that drama. So he's still in with a shout here, don't call this a day just yet, as he's not too far away from Crazy. Anything can happen in this race, of course, and normally in TTL it does. So that's you can see Maze and Little Piece there going through your picture. Steph, then Plaster, as I'm not sure who that was. A lovely camera angle here of Steph here, as he does run it slightly wide there. That's a slightly awkward line for him, so he won't get the traction he needs. Meanwhile then, we're going to ride on board with the Gort here. He's behind Weed Nation, he's got the DRS open, and well, he'll be trying to make his way past Weed Nation as soon as he can. Meanwhile then, Spike is using all the track and more to try and get to the back of Plaster, and we've got a lock up there from, I believe that was Little Piece, who's running just ahead there, and we've got the top three here, or top four, top two, well, top three? What am I talking about? We've got second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth in the same picture here as Crazy Legs. We've got the Gort retired from the session, and he's into the wall. Oh my goodness, well, that is a huge incident to have there. I'm not quite sure where that is. It's through the twist sections. That might be coming out of turn 7, is that? I think that might be turn 7, or at least going into it. Or it could be turn 9. I think it's more likely to be turn 9, but whatever the case, the Gort is out of the race. Meanwhile, through all that drama, we saw Crazy come into the pits, and Spike here has moved himself up into 4th place as he passes Plaster. Yep, that's the one. We're getting all the words correct today, as now Spike moves himself up into 4th place. Of course, he was caught up with the Gort at the start of the race. And is just trying to find his way back through the field now as he moves himself up into 4th place. Crazy has pitted, but where's any traffic? He's got a relatively clear track ahead of him, so he'll be looking to try and make up that time. Meanwhile, Plaster, Steph here, actually, we're going to ride on board with Steph because he's made his way past Little Piece up into 2nd place. So at the moment, it's a Mercedes 1-2, but Crazy has made his stop already, so that's unlikely to be the case in a couple of laps' time. Meanwhile then, Little Piece isn't going to be too happy about that. Is he going to have DRS going through here? Yes, he does. Open it goes, and can Little Piece here try and find a way past? Looks like, though, Steph has got the top straight line speed, through his aero. So as Little Piece locks up here, as he'll go through this 1, 2 and 3 section. Plaster gets himself a 3-second time penalty, trying to catch up to Spike, as we're going to ride on board with Alan Kay now, because the battle for 13th is hotting up here. We've got Koppel on the ultra softs, but we've got Alan Kay on the soft tyres. He did pit very early on due to an incident, and we've got Koppel here who's run slightly wide, and this will be a chance that Alan Kay will be looking to try and get done. Can he get it before the DRS straight? He can, but of course that could be aero. That's not the greatest camera angle in the world, as he does make the move past, and Alan Kay is up into 13th place. Meanwhile then, Plaster's not letting Spike go that easily, as we have Steph as well on the back of his Mercedes teammate Maze, as Crazy Legs comparatively in early. He pitted on lap 6 for his tyres, as Maze comes into the pits on lap 8. So Crazy will have had a huge undercut there. Little Piece stays out. Where is Spike? He stays out as well, so that's crucial. Crazy then has the clear track ahead of him, but he's got to be careful here. Maze coming into the pits, and you can see the gap now as Crazy's well and truly gone from the pit exit, as Maze is still in the pit. So you can see how much time already Crazy might have cost himself, as Heemkar into the pits serves his getting held up in the pits, sorry, as Spike here is just trying to look to push on, as he's trying to go for a 1-stop. You would assume now that's what Spike's going to try and do, as he rounds himself round turn 6 and up to 7, 8, 9 and 10 through 11. So it's a very hectic race right now. Weed Nation then is going to try and go down the inside. I believe that's of Z3, and it is Z3 trying to hold the inside line. They make contact, and Weed Nation just about holds the car, as Z3, who did try and keep that position, very aggressive to try and keep his position. He hasn't been able to keep it though, as Spike here Up into third place as Mays gets himself a time penalty and he makes his way past Z3 as well. So Spike here, does he have DRS on Little Piece here? It's going to be very close. He does have DRS, so very close to call there. I wouldn't like to be the DRS detection point, having to try and see how close he was within a second. But as the Force India of Little Piece locks up, Spike here is just looking to try and press on and push on. We'll have a look and see where Crazy is right now, and you can see here he's going through turn 3 now. So overall he's about 9 seconds behind. So that's how much the undercut has cost Spike here, and it's worth Spike now trying to just make the one-stop work, as he'll have less traffic to try and overtake, but more of a chance of trying to keep ahead of Crazy now. Crazy's pretty much confirmed that he's going to be on a 2-stop, maybe switching to the new set of super softs later on in the race. But Spike here, if he wants to remain competitive, he's got to try and switch to a 1-stop now and try and yet make the soft tyres last as long as possible. We've got debris there on the track. Well, hopefully no one gets a puncture by running over it. Meanwhile then, as Spike going to try and go down the inside of Little Piece. I was about to switch away, and Little Piece there I think has front wing damage. That might have been the debris we saw in that picture. Little Piece then has coming into the pits, but Spike is in the pits as well. So Spike in the pits, so Crazy Legs here is going to be well and truly ahead of Spike as he makes his way into the pits. Going to be close between the Force India and the Renault here, as Spike is changing his front wing as well, as Little Piece here has left the session. I'm not quite sure if that's a retirement or if he's had disconnection problems, but what I can tell you is Spike has rejoined behind Mays, as Mays now trying to get down the inside of Weed Nation and puts himself up into 6th place. So Spike is down to 8th. There he is on the soft tyres, so he's got to try and make this last to the end now. I'm not sure if team orders are going to be in effect because Beastie is on softer tyres, as Z3 makes his way past Koppel, who's come into the pits. Weed Nation then trying to stay on the back of Mays, as Beastie Kid here making his debut today, as he'll try and help his teammate now Spike score as many points as possible. So let's have a look at Crazy then. Crazy up into 4th place. Pazels is in front of him. Now he's been running on the soft tyres since the start of the race, and he's got them to lap 12 so far, and he'll do another lap on them, as we're going to stay on board here. That's Plaster coming into the pits on the ultra soft tyres. He's managed to last them 12 laps. That's incredible from Plaster, as Pazels trying to hold off Crazy Legs here, as can he try and pull off of Vitaly Petrov? Well, Crazy's going to try and move down the inside, but thinks better of it, as Steph currently leads the way in the Mercedes. We've got Pazels, and then we've got Crazy Legs. So Pazels here trying to make this one-stop work. He's on the soft tyres, but Crazy Legs here, is he going to try and move down the inside? He locks up tremendously, as Crazy Legs does move up past Pazels, and he moves himself up into 2nd place. Spike still in 8th place, as now Crazy Legs' next target is the race leader Steph. We'll have a see what happens for the rest of the race. Spike meanwhile is 1.2 behind Plaster. Now Plaster did pit just a second ago, I believe it was, or was that no, it was Plaster who pitted, and of course because of that front wing change has cost Spike a lot of time. Maybe he thought the car just wasn't handling properly coming out of the pits, but we've got Beastie Kid here having a go at Alan Kay, as we might see here a move, as Beastie Kid is, well, he thought about it, he did think about it, but is he side by side now? We've got Spike here on the back of Plaster, but we've got Beastie Kids here trying to make a move around the outside of Alan Kay, and he's made it stick. Fantastic move. Now we're going to try and ride on board with Spike now, who's on the back of Plaster in the DRS zone now. Into the slipstream he goes, and pulls out of it down the inside. It's a very, very long straight as you head towards turn 1, and Spike pulls into the racing line and gets past Plaster up into 7th place. Well, Spike here working his absolute hardest to try and get back into the race, as we see Little Piece join back into the session, which means this ghost car here that's currently running 10th place is Little Piece's car. If he could join back into the session, he will be able to rejoin and just jump straight back into the car. He was running high up the standings here, but disconnection problems and things like that can get in the way. We'll see if his car hardens again so that he can take back control of it. Of course, that does mean he's joined the lobby and does not mean he's joined the session just yet. You'll see that when he gets a solid car. Meanwhile, though, we've got yellow flags in Sector 3. Meanwhile, then, we've got Spike trying to go down the inside of Weed Nation, which then becomes the outside. And, well, this is tense stuff for Spike. Now he's got to watch and be wary of Steph, who's on the ultra soft tyres. We'll see where he joins out. Steph here rejoins ahead of Maze. So that is a disaster for Spike. Meanwhile, though, he's got to try and just do his best for now. As we see Steph here getting past. We've got Weed Nation, who can't defend from Spike. Spike moves himself up into 6th place, and his charge is well and truly on. Meanwhile, then, we have Maze here trying to close up on Steph. That's a back marker of Koppel. Little Piece has left the session, so that is connection troubles for him, which is so unfortunate for him. These things do happen in league racing, which is a massive shame. Spike, though, moves himself up into 6th place and is now trying to chase down Maze. He's 4.7 behind. Beastie Kids then moves himself up into 10th place because of Little Piece's ghost car, and Alan Kane moves himself up into 11th. Blaster here trying to chase down Weed Nation as he'll try and try and catch up and make a move. I'm not sure he's going to be within DRS range. He's got it down to 9/10 of a second there. Goes back up to a second, but I'm not sure what the DRS is going to be. Spike sets the fastest lap of the race as he's looking for a charge here. Does the DRS open? It doesn't for Plaster. So he's not close enough just yet to the back of Weed Nation. So we have a little bit of a break here to go through the standings. We've got Crazy Legs leading the way. Pazels, who hasn't made a stop yet, he's in 2nd place. Raikkonen is in 3rd. Steph is in 4th place. Maze is in 5th. We've got Spike in 6th. Weed Nation is 7th. Plaster is in 8th. Heat Carl 9th. Beastie is in 10th. Alan K in 11th. Z3 is in 12th. Little Piece, the ghost car of him, is in 13th. And Koppel is there in 14th and currently being lapped by the race leaders. So we're going to ride on board with Steph here, who's closing in on Raikkonen. Now, Steph is on the ultra soft tyres, which means he will have to stop again. It will be interesting to see how long Pazels can last on those tyres. Meanwhile, though, we're going to ride on board with Steph as he's right on the gearbox of Raikkonen here, looking for the slipstream. And as he tries to make his way through, he sets the fastest lap of the race now. Steph right on the back of Raikkonen. Open goes the DRS. Now he's in the slipstream. Pulls to the right-hand side here. You could see Raikkonen here. Has he made the move stick? Yes, he has. Going through turn 2. He's got the move done. Locks up slightly, but he keeps a hold of the position and moves up into 3rd place. Blaster then 1.5 behind Weed Nation. Is he closing the gap? Yes, there or thereabouts. Yes, he's reeling him in slowly as we have Raikkonen here trying to keep on the back of Steph. But he's on the super soft tyres, so he's going to find that difficult. But we will have a look and see who are the closest battles on the track. We've got Plaster reeling in Weed Nation right now. To keep you up to date, Crazy is in 1st place, Spike is in 6th. Those are the 2 drivers in the championship battle. With no Traw today, he can't have his say in the championship either. So whatever the result today basically means that Traw is out of the running. So Crazy still leads the way as Steph sets another fastest lap of the race, a 1:18.9. Raikkonen heads into the pits. That moves Mays up into 4th place. Spike is now up into 5th place as Raikkonen puts on a set of super soft tyres. Spike then, it's crucial now that he keeps those tyres clean and fresh for the end of the race. That being said though, Crazy needs to stop again, surely. He's on the super soft tyres right now, but of course those super soft tyres are very unlikely to make it to the end of the race. Of course, we've seen stranger things happen. Plaster then still reeling in Weed Nation, 1.3 behind right now, as Raikkonen is 1.3 behind Hinkar as well, but he's closing fast on fresh tyres here. Hinkar might not have much to say about this battle as Raikkonen and Hinkar head through turns 4 and 5, coming up towards the hairpin of turn 6. Meanwhile, the man who's on a charge here is Steph. He's 1.4 behind Pazels, and you can see here, ultra soft versus soft, you can see how quickly Steph is closing the gap on Pazels. Pazels having a really clean race here for Ferrari, and these are the sort of points Ferrari need. They haven't had a great season, but they will definitely be trying to build their momentum towards the end of this season. Steph, though, now 9/10 behind. He's on such fresher and such quicker tyres. Raikkonen here having a go at Hinkar on fresher tyres as well. Raikkonen going towards the end of the race as he'll have DRS and slipstream. Steph is only 5/10 behind Pazels now, as he won't be able to get the move done just yet, as we'll now jump back on board with Raikkonen and Hinkar as Raikkonen moves back towards the racing line and moves ahead of Hinkar. And Koppel here has been disqualified from the session. He has been disqualified. Well, that is huge here. That may be too many cut corners, that may be too many incidents, whatever it is, the Koppel has been disqualified. Well, meanwhile then, we're riding on board with Steph. Is he going to try and move down the inside? He does, and in fairness to Pazels, he doesn't put up too much of a fight there. He knows the tyre here is in the long run plan to run him as long as possible. He's been out there on these tyres for 19 laps now. As will he complete another lap on those tyres? Yes, he does. He's now on his 19th lap on those tyres. He's done 18 laps on them. So this is incredible from Pazels here. This is going to help him towards the end of the race. As we see here, we'll ride on board with Plaster closing in on Weed Nation. Does he have DRS this time around? Let's see if it opens. It does. It does open. So Plaster's within range on Weed Nation now. As we have Spike here as well, closing onto the back of Mays. That's the battle for 4th place right now. And as I try and look over and to my notes and see, remember, Crazy's on 237, Spike is on 186. We have a little bit of a lag spike there to try and deal with as well. So Crazy at the moment on 237 points. We then have Spike here is on 186. As it stands, Crazy scores the full 25 points and he walks away the champion right now. Spike, I believe that's 10 points, will move himself up to 196, but he will be outside of that 50-point barrier by 16 points at the moment. Of course, still a long way to go. It's not over till that checkered flag falls. Meanwhile, Plaster is 3/10 behind here, but this is going to be a move here as Pazels pits in on lap 19. Spike here has a chance now to try and go down the inside of Mays. Now that is interesting here that Pazels gone onto the super soft and then the soft and then the super soft tyre. So maybe the soft tyre might not go to the end of the race as Spike here makes his way past Mays and up into 3rd place. That may mean then that Spike might not make it to the end of the race on these tyres. Well, this is going to be a huge battle between Spike and his tyre wear. Well, he could go for another ultra soft stint at the end of the race, but that's going to hurt him because it's another stop but we'll see what happens. Here we are, we have Z3 on the back of Alan Kay, and he's in DRS range right now. This is the battle for 11th place. As you'll see here, Z3 trying to make his way, trying to close the gap as much as he can on this straight as they head into 1, 2 and 3. So Crazy Legs comes into the pits for what could only be another set of super soft tyres. Either that or he's going to go onto the soft. They've got super softs ready. So the championship leader goes on to super softs and he'll be going towards the end of the race on those tyres. So he leaves the pit lane. Spike moves himself up into 2nd place, and Crazy Legs now is rejoining the track in 4th place. As he's got clear track behind him, clear track in front of him to try and set some lap times now towards the end of the race. You'll only assume now that Crazy has the pace now to make it to the end of the race. Meanwhile then, Maze is on the back of Spike, and as you'll see here, the 3 cars you see there is Spike in 2nd, Maze in 3rd, and that's a little piece the ghost car of, so don't worry too much about him. He is a ghost car and just being driven by an AI right now. As we have Z3 picking up a time penalty as Alan Kay comes into the pits now. Z3 moves up into 11th place. Pazels here on the back of Raikkonen. Now Pazels is on the super soft tyres, trying to make this one stop work. He did start outside of the top 10, and Pazels now is going to try and go to the end of the race on those super soft. Now he should be able to make it quite easily. One person who should be worried about that is Spike. Now depending on what his tyre wear is going to be like, he currently runs in 2nd place. So if it were to finish like this, Spike has a chance of taking the championship to Brazil, but of course Spike may have to stop again. He is currently around about 6 seconds ahead of Crazy Legs, and you can see Crazy Legs has superior pace. You might see just the outline of Crazy coming into the picture as the camera comes away, but we'll see how this develops towards the end of the race. We've got about 15 laps to go, so anything can still happen, and in Formula 1, in-game or normally does. So we have Pazels here trying to close down on Raikkonen, of course, on the super soft tyre. That's your closest battle on track at the moment. We've got 3 retirements. We've got Koppel, who has been disqualified from the second session. We had Twist hit the wall and decided to retire from the session, and we had the Gort also hit the wall and have suspension damage and not be able to continue with the race. So those are your only 3 retirements as of now. As we have Maze into the pits, Crazy Legs sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:18.2, and Spike is going to be worried here. This could be a championship deciding move right here, right now, as Crazy looks to try and lure Spike in to lap after lap after lap. We've got 14 laps to go, and at this pace you would assume that Crazy could catch up to the back of Spike, but we saw in the last round Spike can put up a fight and a half, especially when he's defending on harder tyres. So I wouldn't call this the end just yet. Meanwhile then, Raikkonen closing in on Plaster in 4th place. There he is. The 2 teammates here trying to work together. Behind them is Pazels, and we've got Maze here on the back of Heemkarl, half a second back now. He's going to try and have a good amount of traction. Look how much better tyres he has than Heemkarl, as he's going to try and go round the outside as Heemkarl comes across. He does use a bit of the track and more there to try and defend his position, but Maze backs out of it, and we'll try again next time around. Meanwhile, Raikkonen on the back of Plaster. Now, are Red Bull going to use T-borders here to let Raikkonen pass Plaster? It's a bit of an odd one, but Raikkonen looks like he's got the better pace, and is Plaster going to put up too much of a fight down this straight? I doubt he is, as Raikkonen here into the slipstream he goes. Pulls out to the right hand side, and I think this is going to be Raikkonen's one of his easier moves, as Plaster doesn't put up too much of a fight and finds Raikkonen up into 4th place. Meanwhile here though, we've got Mays going past Heemkarl. Heemkarl's going to go into the slipstream. Is he going to try and move? No, he's not. Mays is up now into 7th place, as Plaster now falls away from Raikkonen. Pazels here has a good chance of trying to catch up to the back of Plaster. So we have Steph in the lead right now. Spike's there in 2nd. Crazy is in 3rd as he runs slightly wide. Raikkonen is in 4th. Plaster is in 5th. Pazels is in 6th. Mays is in 7th. Heemkarl 8th. Weed Nation 9th. Beastie is in 10th. Z3 is in 11th and into the pits. Alan K is 12th and Little Piece is in 13th, although he's a ghost car right now. So Steph comes into the pits, and on go a set of super softs. So that means Spike now is up into the lead of the race, but you can see there Crazy is just not too far behind at all. As we'll see the gap to the leaders, you can see who's been lapped here. Alan K, Z3 and Little Piece have all been lapped, as Beast the only one, last one on the lead lap right now. So we'll have a look at the stops here. You'll be able to see Mays has made 2 stops, as we've got Spike on 1 stop at the moment, as we still have a long way to go, that's for sure. Steph here on the back of Raikkonen. He made his way past Plaster. Oh, sorry, he rejoined, didn't he, in front of Plaster. As Pazels here is now closing in on Plaster. We've got 2 battles to watch here, as Pazels runs wide, but that will give him a better line going through turn 6. So bittersweet, that one. As we see Raikkonen and Steph going through the twist section here, as Steph is really pushing, as he's going to try a move. Is he going down the inside? He waits for now and just bides his time behind Raikkonen here, as he'll wait now for the DRS straight. Meanwhile, Pazels closing in on Plaster, as Steph is right on the back of Raikkonen here. Keep that back end in check, as you'll see now the Mercedes will just power past him with DRS down the straight here. He didn't even need the slipstream. That's how much traction he's got out of that last corner, and he's got ahead, and Raikkonen doesn't really have much of a reply, and Steph goes through into 3rd place. Meanwhile though, the battle at the front, Spike is being closed in on by Crazy, and it looks like Spike's going to try and go to the end of the race on these tyres. There's only 11 laps to go, and the pit window to get onto a new set of super soft tyres is pretty much gone for Spike, as he'll try it now and go to the end now, you would think, on these tyres. So it's going to be a grandstand finish, I think. 11 laps to go as we head through now into the stadium section, as well Spike here just has to try and hold on for dear life. This is for the championship. If Crazy finds a way past, that is the championship decided, or at least if that changes before the checkered flag. As Spike comes in now, and well, you would think now on go a set of super softs, or is it a set of ultra softs? I assume this late on it's going to be a set of ultra softs, and he's going to just try and push to the end of the race. Meanwhile here we've got Mays on the back of Pazels, and Spike, yes, on go a set of ultra soft tyres. Now he's got to try and fight his way through. He's got to try and fight through Raikkonen here. Where is Pazels? There's Pazels, and there's Mays, as Spike now is in real trouble. Has he got ahead of Mays? He has. So he's up, he's into 5th place as he locks up now. He's got a 3-second time penalty for that one, and he's just going to try and push the car as much as he can in the slipstream of Pazels now. This is for the championship. He needs to push, and push now. Down the inside of Pazels he goes. Can he find the move? Not quite, as he loses the back end very slightly. So does Pazels though. We get a bit of lag, but Spike is ahead of Pazels, and up into 4th place he goes. Now he's got to charge on to try and close down Raikkonen now, who's 4 seconds behind. Meanwhile though, we've got Mays here, who's found a way past Pazels. Raikkonen here is Spike's next target, 3.5 seconds down the road, but falling quickly as Crazy now just tries to try and keep his head now. We've got 9 laps to go. And Crazy is in control right now. Steph is in second, Raikkonen third, but Spike's not giving up just yet. He needs to pull out lap after lap qualifying pace if he's going to have a chance of catching Crazy towards the end of this race. There he goes again, and 2.4 now behind Raikkonen. In just 2 sectors, he's taken around about 1.1 seconds off of Raikkonen. That's how much pace Spike has right now, and can he use that to good effect? Finds himself 2.2 as he locks up going into turn 1. He's pushing that car as hard as he possibly can now, and he'll open the DRS coming down the back straight now as he'll head towards turns 4 and 5. This is epic stuff, and Spike knows that he just has to push now if he wants to try and hold on to his championship hopes. Round turn 6 he goes now into 7, 8, 9, 10 through 11 as now he's closing in. You'll see now how much more grip he has than Raikkonen through through turn 7 to 11. And you can see now, oh, he's lost the back end slightly, lost that grip just for a split second, managed to keep a hold of it, but it's lost him time, valuable time he needs to try and close in on Crazy. 8 laps to go, and Spike here is in a load of trouble. If he can try and find a way past Raikkonen down the main straight with DRS, as he's in the slipstream of Raikkonen now, past the start finish line, 1:18.1. He is pushing like so hard right now, pushing like a madman, as once Jarno truly said, as he's going round down the inside of Raikkonen, moves himself up into third place. And in fairness to Raikkonen, he doesn't put up much of a fight here. Spike moves up into third place, 15.6 behind Crazy. He's got a lot to do and not many laps to do it, 8 laps in fact to do it. It's going to be very, very tight, but he needs to keep pushing. Meanwhile then, we're going to have a look at towards the back of the field. We've got Alan Kay here trying to get right out of the way of the leading packs there, just trying to use all the track and more to make sure he just gets straight out of the way. Steph is the next target for Spike, and he's closing 3.7 at the moment, now down to 3.6, now down to 3.5 as we go through the 20 timing sectors of the track. And well, Weed Nation's got a 3-second time penalty. Spike trying to round that, trying to round to now. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm absorbed in the drama here. Now Spike is going to have DRS on the Ferrari driver. 1:17.5. He is going for it, as he's got now the slipstream of the Ferrari driver, and I think that is of actually I'm not sure who that is, but whoever it is, he's given Spike the slipstream he needed to try and close in further on Crazy. It was the gap 15.6 a lap ago. It's now down to around about 10.3, so he's trying to push with 7 laps to go. It's a tall order for Spike, but he's going to try and go for it, as those ultra soft tyres will be screaming towards the end of the race. Remember, we've got penalties to take into account as well. That is if Crazy Legs has any penalties either. But at the moment, Spike on track, closing in on Steph. 2.6 seconds separates them, and it's around 12 seconds separating Spike and Crazy right now. And that sort of pace, he's not going to catch the race leader, but he's going to try and have a grandstand finish to try and get ahead of Crazy. It's his only chance to try and get ahead. 6 laps to go, as Spike now going past the ghost car of a little piece there. Will he actually get DRS off the ghost car? That'll be interesting to see. And he does get DRS off the ghost car, so that is a huge advantage for Spike. That's exactly what he needed as well, as he's closing in further and further on Steph now. And the gap to the leader is around about 11.3, I believe it is. But we're going to keep these intervals up just so I can see any battles happening and emerging. We've got Mays at the moment 1.1 behind Raikkonen here as he tries to close the gap. Is he trying to is he closing it at all? we will have keep an eye on that one as well. Spike 2.2 behind Steph, and the gap to the leader is around about 11 seconds. So it is a tall order with 6 laps to go. It's almost going to be 2 seconds a lap faster than Crazy, which is a huge mountain to climb. As Spike runs wide again, we've got Maze here sweeping through now, through turn 7 to 11 as we head up to turn 12 now. As Spike on the back of Raikkonen, closing the gap. And will Maze have a say in Raikkonen's position? Can Maze move himself up into 4th place? We shall see. 5 laps to go, and the gap to the leader for Spike is around about, I believe that is 10.4. So the pace is just simply enough, not quick enough. As Maze here trying to find a way past Raikkonen. He's in the DRS zone, and we'll go through turns 1, 2 and 3 as Maze is looking for that 4th place now. As we head into the 2nd DRS zone, into the slipstream Maze goes, as he's got Pazels coming through the picture. Sorry, that's not Pazels, that is another car. But nothing doing just yet for Maze, as he's looking for a way past. Maze here trying to go through turns 7 and 8 now. He's got that dirty air, which is not going to help him at all going through here. Now and through turns 9 and 10, and then through 11, the slight kink there. And heading towards turn 12 now and into the stadium section. Can Maze find a way past Raikkonen? Through turn 13 now and 14. As we head through now 15, 16, 17, through it all now, as Spike here has a chance on Raikkonen. But we're going to stay on board with Maze here, who has a chance against Raikkonen. As Raikkonen hasn't got any DRS, but Maze can't really close the gap. Raikkonen's going defensive, defending that inside line here, and can Raikkonen hold on from Maze? He's looking to try and hold him off so far. 4 laps to go as Heemkar gets himself past Plaster. Missed that move, I'm very sorry. But Maze here is looking for a way past Raikkonen. And Maze trying to get that bigger apex line to try and get past Raikkonen now. And again, through turn 7 through 11 is just full of dirty air. As Maze here is just trying to hold on to the car now, as it just is severely affected by that dirty air. As Maze here will try again to close the gap. Meanwhile though, Spike's tyres, I think they're trying to take that hit with 3 laps to go. He's still hovering around the 2nd mark between him and Steph. As will he get DRS this time around? No, he won't, but he is in the slipstream. As we've got yellow flags in sector 2 now. Maze here going through. Can he close any more on Raikkonen? Once again though, Raikkonen is just able to stay ahead. He must just be getting better traction through the last corner, and that's what's keeping him ahead for now. Spike here now 4 tenths behind Steph. There's a little bit of lag there. Doesn't affect it too much though. As we have Spike here now 7 tenths behind, and the championship hopes look to be slipping away right now. But he'll keep pushing, just keep pushing till the end, because you never know in this one. Crazy here leading the way. Steph is in 2nd, and as Spike is trying to catch up, we can see here he's got himself another time penalty. As Spike trying to go and find a way around. Can he find a way around, as Steph is trying to go very defensive, and it's going to affect him going through turn 15, now through 16 and 17. The slight right-hander going across the start-finish line with 2 laps to go. And Crazy here looks in the driver's seat, no pun intended, for the championship. A Spike now trying to go down the inside where Steph was already trying to defend. He'll go down the inside. Has he kept the move? Yes, he has. And Spike now up into second place. As Mays here is going to try and move down the inside of Raikkonen. Has he got it? No, he hasn't. Has to take avoiding action. And Raikkonen there's got himself a time penalty. And we'll have to, Mays will have to do that all over again. Meanwhile, though, Spike is trying to get away. Mays might have another go. No, he doesn't. So Spike now is 6.5 behind Crazy with only 1.5 laps to go. As Crazy going through turn 11 now, coming up to turn 12 and into the stadium section for the penultimate time. And this is going to be crucial now. Crazy just has to keep it on the track. That's all he has to do. He's been leading for pretty much since the second lap or the third lap. And he has a chance here to take away the championship here today at Mexico. One more lap separates Crazy from his championship here in Season 7 of TTL. Well, we can only wait for one more lap. Can Spike get another opportunity? As Steph here is going to try and not make this easy for Spike, as he's got the DRS now and is trying to get past Spike once again. Mays here might have a chance against Raikkonen. Has he finally got the move done? Raikkonen has put up a fight all he could, but he just couldn't quite hang on, and Mays will have the DRS going through the second zone as there's no second activation point. There goes Mays with the DRS as well, and he moves himself up into fourth place. Meanwhile, though, Crazy's going through turns 7 through 11 once again as Spike is pushing his heart out. He's 5.3 behind Crazy. We have penalties to take into effect as well, so it will give me a chance to try and calculate whether the championship has been won. And Crazy then going through the stadium section, the confetti flies up, and Crazy Legs heading under and through the stadium now around that final corner. Crazy Legs for the Mexican Grand Prix crosses the line in first place, and he comes across the line and bins the car as he does it. Spike comes across the line and finishes second. So that's it. The championship has been decided. Crazy Legs will walk away champion in this unofficial result, as we have all the drivers now crossing the line. Yes, Crazy Legs scores 25 points, Spike scores 18 points, and the gap now goes up to 58 points, which means Crazy cannot be caught towards the end of the season. This unofficial result then was Weed Nation has retired from the session, and he's completely lost it. Has he lost it, or has he made contact? Either way, all that hard work has been completely lost. Such a shame for Weed Nation there. But as we wait for the other cars to cross the line then, as Beastie now moves up into 9th place, Weed Nation will pick up a point then. But there we have it. Crazy cannot be caught with 2 races to go. Crazy then is your TTL Season 7 champion. Of course, we have to confirm it in the next episode, but from my calculations, Crazy Legs is the Season 7 champion of TTL. Well, full confirmation will be done in the next episode and the next race of TTL. But by my calculations, Crazy Legs has taken the TTL championship here at Mexico for season number 7. We still have 2 races to go. Next race is in Brazil, and I will have a double check and see if any championships can be won there. Of course, all to play for. In terms of saving grace, but by my calculations, Crazy Legs is the Season 7 TTL champion. So congratulations to him, and of course we will have full confirmation in the next race, where we might have a little trophy to show as well. But that's it for this race at Mexico. Round 19 is, of course, at Sao Paulo, so please do join us for that one. Until Brazil, though, it's goodbye from me. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.